Okay, we all know and love Halloween, right? But what if I told you the real story behind all the costumes and the candy is, well, it's way more surprising and honestly a lot spookier than you probably think. Let's pull back that veil and get into its thousand-year-old history.
I mean, think about it. The costumes, the candy, all the spooky decorations. We just do it. It's the drill. But why? What's the actual story behind everything we do on October 31st?
And hey, let's be real. The candy is a pretty solid reason all by itself. But believe it or not, the history behind our favorite spooky traditions, it's even richer. So let's kick things off with the Halloween we see all around us today. It's this huge, mostly non-religious party. But it actually started as something deeply serious, almost sacred. How in the world did it change so completely over the centuries? Right now, it's all about spooky costumes, parties, jack-o'-lanterns, and just billions of dollars in candy sales. We think of it as a night of harmless, non-religious fun, mainly for the kids. But the roots of this thing, they go back more than 1,000 years, to a time when Halloween was, well, let's just say it was much, much more serious.
All right, so how do we even start to unpack this? I think the best way is to deconstruct the most famous part of the entire holiday. That one iconic phrase everyone shouts from doorstep to doorstep.
I mean, where did trick-or-treat even come from? It feels so modern, so American, right? But its real journey is long, it's winding, and it starts centuries and centuries ago, way over in Europe.
Okay, so check this out. You can actually trace a pretty clear line here. It starts way back in the Middle Ages with a practice called souling. The poor would literally beg for these things called soul cakes, and in return, they'd offer prayers for the dead. Fast forward to the 1800s, Irish and Scottish immigrants brought over a custom called guising, where you'd perform a little trick, like a song or a joke, to get a treat. But the actual phrase trick or treat, it doesn't even show up in North America until 1927. And the whole massive door-to-door candy thing we do today, that really exploded after World War II with the candy boom.
So that kind of explains the treat part of the equation. But what about the costumes? Why do we dress up as ghosts and witches and all these ghouls? Well, the original reason for all the disguises is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, look at this. The difference is just night and day. Back then, the whole point was to hide from or even blend in with actual malevolent spirits. Today, it's for fun, parties, and, getting candy. What started as a real strategy for protecting yourself has totally transformed into a night of pure entertainment.
And that's the key thing to get here. The original goal was so simple. Just avoid being recognized by the ghosts and spirits they believed were roaming the earth. Putting on a mask wasn't a game. It was a survival tactic. It was meant to fool these beings that could actually harm you. It was a night of very, very real fear.
And to really, truly understand that fear, we have to go back, way back, all the way to the beginning, to an ancient Celtic festival that is the true origin of what we now call Halloween.
And that festival was called Samhain. It's pronounced Samhain. This was an ancient Celtic festival that marked the end of the harvest. But here's the crucial part. They believed the boundary, the veil, between the living and the dead became blurry, super thin. It was a time when the two worlds could dangerously intersect.
So their traditions were all built around this idea. Samhain was their new year, observed on November 1st. They believed the souls of the dead were actually returning home. So they'd light these huge bonfires on hilltops to scare away evil spirits, and, here it is again, they wore disguises to avoid being recognized by the ghosts. This was also a time for fortune-telling, divination. And this is where we get our whole classic Halloween cast. The witches, the ghosts, the goblins, it all comes from these ancient beliefs.
Okay, so if the original festival was called Samhain, how did we get the word Halloween? That question brings us to the next huge chapter in this story. It really happened in a few key stages. First, back in the 7th century, the Pope created All Saints' Day. Then, in the 8th century, another pope moved that day to November 1st. And this was likely a strategic move to basically co-opt or replace the pagan festival of Samhain. So the evening before All Saints' Day, October 31st, became known as All Hallows Eve. And you can probably see where this is going. Over time, All Hallows Eve just got shortened and contracted into the word we all know, Halloween.
And this right here is the whole point. By the end of the Middle Ages, the sacred and the secular, they had totally merged. The two traditions didn't just sit side by side, they blended into one. The Christian holiday gave it a new name, for sure, but those older, spookier pagan traditions, the bonfires, the spirits, the costumes, they never really disappeared.
So think about where we've been. We went from a modern night of fun all the way back to an ancient spiritual observance. It's really a story of transformation, 1,000 years in the making. We've seen how a night of genuine fear turned into a night of fun, and how an ancient pagan ritual got a Christian name, only to become the secular holiday we love today.
So, now that you know its history, what does this incredible blend of sacred, spooky, and sweet truly represent? It's just a fascinating mix, isn't it? A holiday where we remember the dead while celebrating with candy, and we ward off ancient spirits by dressing up like superheroes. It's a little bit of everything. The next time you put on a costume, just think about that long, spooky, and amazing history behind it all.